Okay, so we're here with Bryan Laskin. Bryan is the founder of OperaDDS and is not just a dentist who has a business with OperaDDS, but I understand you still practice on a regular basis, right, Bryan?
I do, yeah. I see patients 2 days a week.
Okay.
We have 7 dentists in the practice, so it's a busy place.
Okay. So what we're going to do for people that are listening is give people a chance to get kind of an inside view into who you are, kind of some of your background, and then a little preview and an inside view into OperaDDS. So do you mind just talking in terms of, give us a little bit of background on who you are? Certainly we talked about how you're into snowboarding and you make a trip every year to Colorado. First, do you mind just telling the listeners a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. I love talking about snowboarding. Actually,
Okay.
I started coming snowboarding out west right before the Olympics in 2000 when I went to Salt Lake City, where you're based. Went and took a course with Gordon Christensen, and some of my friends came along who aren't dentists. So, and then we just decided to make it an annual event, and then stopped going to meetings, and we just kept snowboarding, and so we've gone probably on average 2-3 times a year out west snowboarding. Just there's a group of like 4 to 6 of us that go most of the time. Oh,
okay. Well, cool. So you did that yesterday, and you're doing it today. So just kind of a whole weekend out of it.
Yeah. Today, this trip just a couple days, and it's -10. It was -10 at the base of the mountain yesterday. So
wow.
Yeah, it was my field just. Yep.
Okay.
So today's supposed to be nice.
Okay. So where are you from? And give us a little bit of background.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm from Minneapolis, which is where I currently practice. My practice is in a suburb just west of Minneapolis called Wayzata. Like I said, we have 7 dentists. It's grown since I started the practice in 2001 with an 800 square foot practice. So now we have an entire 3-story building.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah,
that's fabulous.
It's a bit. Yeah, so we've been rapidly growing, and our rate of growth actually has been accelerating. By all metrics, basically in the last 2 years, we've doubled our practice. And I attribute a lot of that success in the practice to starting OperaDDS, which is just kind of strange. People think that when you start a software company, that it would damage the practice, just to be action. But what's really happened is my practice has become it always was sort of we look at progressive change being a positive. So we test things, keep what works, replace what doesn't. And so what's really happened is that my practice has become sort of a laboratory of way to do things in a better way, basically, which is fun.
Okay. Now, where did the drive come to being a dentist?
That's a great question, because I actually took a year off. I was going to be a physician. I went on some rounds. Yeah. Well, yeah. I put a lot of thought into it because I did not grow up with a dental family. I've never had a filling. I have one on my front tooth that I got in dental school when I chipped my front tooth.
Oh, really? Was that from snowboarding?
So I had 0 dental experience. But I was going to be a physician, and then I went on rounds with some family members and quickly decided that I did not want to do that. I think I'm a stereotypical entrepreneur, where I knew from an early age I don't work well for other people. I work well with other people, and I would rather work 3 times as hard for myself than work for somebody else. I've always enjoyed doing things with my hands, like drawing and painting and playing guitar. And so I wanted to do something in healthcare. So dentistry to me was a good merge of those things. I also made a huge error in that every dentist that I met that I went with were like the calmest people that I knew. And I thought that because I'm kind of a spaz, I'm very energetic. I thought that dentistry must be a calming career, and that was very wrong.
That's not the case, huh?
No. So what actually happens, I think, is that a lot of people go into dentistry who are calm because they can handle the stress of dentistry.
Right.
So that was kind of the piece of dentistry that I was wrong going in with.
Okay. Let me ask you, talked about kind of being an entrepreneur at heart. What was it that held you back? Or do you have kind of a pivot point where you determined that you wanted to take that leap?
Yeah.
Into entrepreneurship?
What I would say is that what held me back was fear. I think I was fearful of failure. One of the reasons why I became a dentist is I felt like it was a relatively safe business to own. Dentists at the time, it was, I went to dental school many moons ago, and back then, dentists, dental practices can't fail. That's no longer the case.
Okay.
But what really happened was I started OperaDDS to fill a need that I saw with intra-office communication in the practice. And so actually, I'm obsessive about the patient's experience, making it a positive experience, and delivering it the way that people want it to be done. And I didn't see a good intra-office communication system, so that's how it got started. And then that kind of opened up the floodgates to, you know what? I can be an entrepreneur in dentistry and provide solutions that come from my practice to others. And that's kind of what we're kind of doing now.
What were some of the challenges that you saw as you determined that you'd make that transition, Bryan?
To be an entrepreneur versus a dentist, you mean?
So the transition from being a dentist full-time to transition into where you started integrating something like that, because I think a lot of people, they look at others doing that and they think, boy, wouldn't that be nice? But I've got family time I need to worry about. There's just a multitude of barriers that can come in.
Yeah, for me, and I think it's true of most people that kind of transition from, like the book, The E-Myth. I don't know if you read that. To transition from sort of a technician to being an entrepreneur. It's really barriers in your mindset of needing to do everything. It's really, I have some of the greatest staff in the world. I work with some of the greatest people, and it's really for dentists, and I think for any technician, is being able to recognize that you can't do everything the best, and to rely on others to do a lot of the things that, frankly, that's why my practice has doubled in the last 2 years, is that I recognized I couldn't do anything. So I turned over things that I was not as good at to people that are better at it than me. And it's that's been transformative, but it's a hard thing to do. It's easy to say, it's hard.
Yep, but it's giving you a multiplier effect, and has certainly freed you up to be able to scale OperaDDS. So what is OperaDDS? What are some of the main components, the main features of OperaDDS, and I'd like to dig a little deeper into each of those. If you could first introduce and then tell us a little bit about each piece.
Sure. So OperaDDS is a complete communication package for dental offices. There's other systems that do some of the features that we do, but nobody aggregates it into one place like us, with a very mobile first design. So it's a cloud-based application. You can run it on any browser. We also have an iPhone, Android, Apple Watch, iPad applications.
Oh, really?
So you can run it on any device. And usually dentists kind of freak out and they say, I don't want my staff to carry their phones around, and they don't need to. Right. You can use it just the PCs in the operatory. But if you want, and you have an Apple Watch, you can get all your communication on your watch, which is pretty transformative when it comes to the immediate communication that's necessary in a dental practice.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear you talk about the watches, because I know a couple of years ago, there was a lot of talk about how they could be incorporated into the healthcare industry, and I mean, really a case in point that it's successful in the dental industry.
Yeah. And the feature that we started off with is called Pager.
Pager.
So it's communication between staff members. And one small example is that we have a checklist so when the hygienist is ready for an exam, they actually send it along to you, and it was discussed in the operatory, so what was discussed before. We show people it. The average office gets over a 30% in production, which
really?
is huge. I mean, because what we really are doing is same or asking people if they want to get to work in a way that it makes it easy for them to get on board and to be able to accomplish that communication between staff members, which I think is the most underappreciated thing in dentistry, is communication between staff.
Hold on just a sec. So was it difficult to train your staff on utilizing your system?
No. Temporary hygienists, we do the same thing with. It'd be intuitive, and of course, took a lot of thought to make it simple to use. We developed it for years, and then we branched on from there because as Pager, HIPAA came out, which is kind of how we got connected, and I recognized that there was a big problem with dentists getting patient information through traditional email, which is not secure. And so we created a whole platform for dentists to collaborate with each other, which includes secure email and a secure version of Dropbox called Lockbox. It's not Dropbox, it's our own version.
Oh, okay.
And then also collaboration. So that's kind of what Opera is now known the most for, probably, is our HIPAA compliance package. Which
interesting.
Yeah.
So it's part of the HIPAA security protocol. You don't do necessarily training, but what you do provide is an encryption type of piece, some safeguards for as you communicate back and forth.
Yeah, I view HIPAA similar to OSHA in that there's OSHA. You need to have your training. You need to have policies and procedures in place, and then you need to have the done. You need to have everything okay.
Yeah, sorry, just 1 second.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so I view HIPAA and OSHA sort of as parallels, where OSHA, you need to have training and policies and procedures, masks and disinfectant. OperaDDS is more the gloves, the masks. It's the how you actually communicate securely. It's the platform you use. What information you pass through there, and that's up to you and your trainer. And so Chorus is for people to be compliant, both with patients, with staff, and with colleagues. But you still need obviously to have training and policies and procedures in place.
Right. Okay. So, so when you first looked into this, I mean, how does one start? I mean, certainly you had this idea that it could work, but what were some of the initial things that you had to do to begin implementing OperaDDS?
Well, I think, like a lot of sort of accidental entrepreneurs or whatever, things came together once. Yeah, I bought a building, the 3-story building I talked about.
Right.
And I bought all the stuff for the building for the midwinter meeting with some staff. and we bought three different, because we had the light box communicators in the old office, and I hate. So I was complaining to a friend computing company and said, I don't know why somebody hasn't just designed it to be on the wall and get all the information, system with message and email, postcard reminders, and engine and HIPAA compliance. And he said, let's do it. And so he had some coders I started with, and that's kind of what it made it easy for me to say, oh yeah, because it was one of my best friends, and he had some coders on staff, and so we kind of.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say that I just had the vision.
So yeah, it really sounds like things were falling into place for you. Certainly, you'd had some years in the industry before you determined that you wanted to move this direction. So you'd built up relationships. You had developed some credibility in terms of what how valuable something like this could be, and so what would you say? So you've kind of introduced some of the problems of HIPAA-related communications, with all the communications back and forth. What are some of the other things that you communicate? I watched one of your videos on your website, and I think it mentioned that you could actually transfer documents back and forth, such as X-rays.
Yeah, I feel like I've become really interested in regulation, which sounds weird, but
it's weird to most people. It's not super weird to us because we understand how it protects people. But go ahead.
We're similarly weird. What I would say is, as a dentist, what I didn't like is how some regulatory-based companies use regulation as a way to exploit dentists. And then what is a need in the industry, in the case of HIPAA, the privacy and security of our patients' information, which is hard to argue, is a necessary thing, right? And we could talk about that at length, obviously.
We sure could.
I don't feel like that is I am almost alone as a dentist in thinking that is not a negative, that it's a positive, that it's a way for us to not only do things better, do the right thing, but it's also a way to be more profitable and actually have better systems in place. And that's what I've done with OperaDDS, is I've made the regulation HIPAA be better for offices to be compliant than to not be compliant. You're elevating care, you're doing the right thing, you're protecting yourself, and you're actually more profitable. The average practice, like I said, that starts using OperaDDS, their production increases 30%. So, and that's just from the intra-office communication side. I can talk about, the benefits of having your work email separate but linked to your traditional email. That's great. Things like digital case collaboration. If I send, one of the big voids in the industry is when we refer people to a specialist, the person in the power right there, the only person that knows if they've actually followed through with treatment is the patient. Whereas with Opera, everybody's informed immediately, and you can pass whatever information you want to privately to the specialist or the laboratory, so the patient doesn't. There's lots of things which seem subtle when you're talking about it. When you put it into practice, it's just a better way of doing things. And that's what I really like, is taking what others view as problems and turning them into opportunities. That's what, Bryan. Thanks.
I'm really excited. I mean, the more I hear about OperaDDS, I just think this is a fantastic system, and it sounds like it works with business associates, people that need to access PHI, or like you said, you connect with laboratories and other people that need to see X-rays, specialists. I think this is fantastic, because this is one of the big issues in the industry, is having somebody come into the office and they'll upload the information on their internet or on their computer. And we've had several cases where people have contacted us saying, hey, this business associate had his laptop stolen recently with all of our information. So you really helped to dissolve that risk factor.
Yeah, and I think there's a big confusion as to HIPAA and email. People view encryption as being the holy grail of
HIPAA compliance.
And it's not even really an requirement. I mean, it's obviously there's a big difference between security and compliance. And like you just stated, the most common way that there's a data breach is by local theft. Either somebody steals a server or a hard drive or a mobile device. And so the best way, the most secure way, I should say, to keep your data safe is by getting it off of your local systems into a cloud-based server farm, which is designed specifically to hold that data. Sometimes, the stuff that makes the news is the breaches for large corporations, Sony. Right. But that's very different. When you keep your data on IBM or Microsoft or Amazon platform that's designed for that security, it's a bigger problem for that company than for you if that information gets breached. And so that's the I guess it's my opinion, but it's an educated opinion. That's the most secure way to handle information.
That really is a great point. Bryan, I want to get into a little bit more of, if somebody was listening that wants to kind of see how this could work for their practice. I know you have a demo. Do you mind talking about kind of what the next steps are for people that have curiosity in incorporating the system?
Yeah, the best way, like you said, is to get a demo. It only takes about 10 minutes to show people, and it's best done by, we have some just phenomenal people that are working for us doing our demos that can break it down easily to show people how to be compliant and be more productive in about 10, 15 minutes. Yep. And just go to OperaDDS, so it's OperaDDS.com, and there's request a demo, and there's an online scheduler for you to schedule your 15-minute demo, and it can show you what all the magic of Opera.
So from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, how frequently are people going to be utilizing this system? Unpack kind of the realistic view of how important this is day to day.
Oh, it's hard to really even vocalize. If the power goes out in my office, the worst thing is we lose Opera, because that inter-office communication is so key. And then your recall system comes through there, so you can now our newest feature is Care Text, where you can securely text with patients.
Oh, really?
So it's immediate communication that's secure, so you can discuss the patient's broken tooth without worry. Also, you don't have to take call anymore. You can send people to your website and securely text. So the dentist, you don't have to send to have somebody on call or have an assistant take a phone home. It's easy to patients from your mobile device, and the entire conversation can be put in the patient record. So so it's a complicated, because we do aggregate all of the communication in the practice into one space. So right. So everybody has it all day long. Yeah, I mean it's from your like we're talking about, how often is your hygienist sending you a message, or is the front desk getting a confirmation from a patient? It's all day long. In fact, one of the other new feature we added is our action center, which aggregates all of your communication to one place, because there's just so much that happens that if you haven't been logged in for an hour, it shows you quickly kind of what you missed when you went to lunch.
That's great. That's great. Any other features you're currently working on?
Oh yeah, lots. We've got a lot coming up.
And how do you determine what features are going to be helpful? Is it do you regularly survey other dentists, or how do you determine how to scale?
Well, so it started off with just what I wanted, frankly,
okay.
Because
Sure.
And now we have just some of the most, you know, I've done training for CERAC for over a dozen years, which I've had to step down from, but just some of the leading, just the leading minds in dentistry are using Opera, and so they give me great feedback. Like the Action Center was directly from our user base, but then there's things like CareText where sometimes you need to change the paradigm. Taking call is not the best way to do it, and I recognize that, and those features are frankly more difficult because we don't have competition in that space. Nobody's doing it the way we're doing it. But I think it's fun. So it's kind of a half listening to our user base, giving them what the features that they want, and half trying to decide where does the industry need to go. And I think, and we're highly focused on communication, changing, keeping communication simple and secure and the most effective, and changing what's possible with communication.
Fantastic.
That's kind of what OperaDDS is about.
That's great. It really sounds like you're really trying to be in tune through your own practice and through other people's experience and really supplying a real and changing demand. And what do you see, right now where, like you said, watches are starting to become a thing. Do you have any idea, what, or any guesses on how technology will continue to evolve in this communication sphere?
Well, so I have a big event coming up on March 16th in Minneapolis called the Get It Done Weekend.
Okay.
Where basically I was in OSHA training for 4 hours. Decided that this wasn't okay, and so in a day and a half you can get all of your regulatory requirements done, and we're going to keep it fun. And then you can have your annual business plan, annual marketing plan. It's a pretty cool event. But at that event, we're going to be launching 3 new technology platforms.
Oh, really?
So we're going to, OperaDDS is obviously our first product, but I'm really excited about some of the things we have coming. And one of the features, which is going to not right away, but is going to integrate with Opera, is what we're calling digital nitrous, which is virtual reality for patients. So that's going to be a whole nother dimension, literally, for technology and dentistry.
Can you give us a sneak peek and unpack that a little bit? That's pretty new and upcoming for sure.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. We talk generally about it. The research with virtual reality and anxiety and pain management, even specifically in dentistry, is very well developed. For example, if you take a burn victim and you, through virtual reality, send them to like the Arctic Circle, it's been shown that if you give them opioids, and there's been studies on pediatrics and dentistry, and by far the most anxiety reducing modality that they used was virtual reality. And so I've partnered with someone who's been working with 360-degree videos specifically for anxiety and pain reduction, and launching the platform to get it done.
Well, that's really curious. I don't imagine you're going to be drilling into someone's mouth while they're looking around. So when is the most appropriate time for a virtual reality headset?
Treatment, frankly, but obviously the platform is designed specifically for. So it's not going to encourage looking around. Sure. It's going to work in a little different way. I don't want to, it's a big sneak under the curtain. We're developing the video specifically for dental treatment, and it's, it's. Have you ever used virtual reality before?
Yes.
Impactful experience.
It is. It's funny that you ask, because I have a VR headset and was actually thinking about how it could be used in I was just thinking there's so many industries that could be using virtual reality, and just my whole time here, I just couldn't get off that in my mind. So again, what's the date? Where's the event being held? And tell us a little bit more about where people can learn more about Bryan Laskin and OperaDDS.
Yeah, well, the website for the event is gidweekend.com. Stands for Get Weekend. It's going to be March 6th, the evening of the 16th, which is a Thursday of March, through noon on Saturday. And it's at the JW Marriott Mall of America in Minneapolis, which is just right next to the airport. And yeah, and more about OperaDDS, again, just go to OperaDDS.com. And thank you very much. This has been a great podcast. Thanks.
Yeah, we are sure grateful that you're willing to make some time for us. I know it's, again, interrupting your snowboard season, your snowboard weekend. I just wanted to just ask a couple more things. First off, what would you say is the best advice for other doctors, dentists, physicians, anybody in the medical field that's wanting to become an entrepreneur, or who is?
So other advice for other healthcare providers that want to be entrepreneurs. I think it would be to focus on your staff and develop great, first work on your own leadership capabilities, and then just like you take continuing education for clinical procedures, I would take continuing education on developing your own leadership capabilities, and then being able to develop leaders within your practice, which is something that we focus on, because any entrepreneur that thinks they can do it on their own is, I think, wildly mistaken. And so to be an entrepreneur, I think, to me, means really at its core being able to develop leadership in other people. Does that make sense?
I love that, and you'd probably also agree that in order to truly be an entrepreneur, the real true sign of being an entrepreneur is the number of people that you're able to influence.
That's true. That's true. And I think as important, or maybe more important, within your organization than because the more you do within your own organization, the more you're going to be able to affect outside of it.
I love that. Well, Bryan, thank you so much. And I should let listeners know we first connected through Dental Town, and it sounds like that's something you use quite frequently. I've seen you on there quite a bit. Any recommendations you'd like to give before we close up on Dental Town and how that's helped you?
Oh, I think it's just great. I mean, I've been lucky enough to get to know some of the people at Dental Town personally. They're just a great group of people. I think that their mission of kind of open communication between dentists is phenomenal. I think it's just a great community. And yeah, I think I think I've talked to a lot of dentists that are sort of the lurkers, where they don't comment, which I understand, because sometimes commenting can be, you can get arrows shot at you. But I think that it's such a welcoming community that I think that being involved is there's so many positives with being involved with a community like Dental Town. And I think it's just a great platform. I don't know. I'm sure you've had positive experiences with it too, Bryan.
It has. It's been a great experience. It's Dental Town. They have an app. You can also use it with your desktop. And again, that'll kind of wrap up our podcast interview. This has been an interview with Bryan Laskin of OperaDDS. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below if you're watching live. And certainly, is there an email address that people can contact you at if they have any questions for you directly?
Yeah, it's Bryan with a Y, so Bryan at OperaDDS.com.
Okay. Well, Bryan, thank you so much. I'll keep you on a second longer after the interview, and sure appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.